Happy St. Patrick's Day and welcome to Injo's Kitchen. Today we're going to be dealing with corned beef. And as we're being stuck at home, being told to shelter in place, it's a perfect time to make corned beef. Corned beef is a classic boiled dinner, and we're going to start with, I'm going to cook 2 pieces of corned beef because I want the extra corned beef here. And now these are the corned beef out of the package. We're going to place them in the pot first. Okay. Next ingredient that comes right from the pot is the packets of pickling spice that comes with the corned beef. We're going to dump them both in. Next, we're going to add additional pickling spice, 1/2 cup. We're also going to put in some thyme sprigs and 2 or 3 bay leaves as well. And about 1/2 cup of chopped onions. Just going to rinse my hands here. And in honor of St. Patrick's Day, we're also going to put in a slug of Jameson. I'm going to put about 1 cup of Jameson Irish whiskey in here. That'll be fine. Now we're going to cover everything in water. In cold water. Just make sure the meat is covered. We will have extra water to add if need be. Now we'll just turn the burner on to high. We're going to bring this to a boil. We're going to drop it to a simmer. And this is going to cook 4 hours in the pot simmer. It's really simple cooking here. Very easy. Just give this a little mix here. It's going to be real simple cooking. And later I'm going to show you how to make Colcannon to serve on the side. And how to make the horseradish sauce that we're going to serve with it as well. And so just to recap, we're going to bring this to a boil. And then we're going to drop it to a simmer. And I'm going to put a lid on it. And we're just going to let it simmer with the lid partially on, a little ajar, and just let it cook. And if the water gets low, just add a little more water when need be, and let it slowly simmer for 4 hours. We're going to check the tenderness at that point. It could go another hour if need be. Some people like to do the partial braise method, where the meat is boiled for part of the time and then roasted the rest. I like it completely boiled, so that's what we're going to do here. This should take a little while to come to a boil, and when it comes to a boil, we'll drop it down and let it cook. It will come back in the 4-hour mark, and I'll show you what it looks like at that time. For now, we'll say goodbye, and we'll be back in 4 hours. Welcome back to Injo's Kitchen and our corned beef episode. First thing, I'm going to show you the corned beef here. This corned beef is almost done. I'm going to reach the fork in here. Yes, this corned beef is tender, so I'm actually going to shut off the corned beef now and just leave the lid open. So this is our potatoes. They're in the pot right now with some water, diced for our Colcannon. I don't have any cabbage. I didn't get any at the store, so we're going to make it work. We're going to put, these are our leek greens. We're going to add them into the pot here. Well, this is just the greens. Okay. We're gonna let the greens themselves cook. Just the greens. We're gonna bring this to a boil and let this cook for 25 minutes. Okay. I'll use the lid partially on this to bring it back to a boil. And then I'm gonna pull out this corned beef and transfer it to a preheated 170-degree oven, which is the low temperature of the oven. And we'll wrap it up and keep it hot. So when we come back, we're going to finish our Colcannon. Welcome back to Enjo's Kitchen. We're now going to work on our Colcannon here. And I'm using this portable burner right here because I don't have space on the stove right now. So we'll turn our burner on. This is a portable gas burner, it'll work fine. We're going to pour half of our butter in here. And the rest of it we're going to drizzle on top. Now we're going to cook this butter to the bronze stage. It's not going to go fully brown, but it needs to get a little bit nutty for this preparation. One of the ingredients in this recipe we're going to be using is whiskey. I'm going to measure some in this gravy boat here. Let me just rinse off the dust out of my gravy boat here. But we're going to use this gravy boat here for our whiskey. It's important here. I have about half of a cup. That's enough for this recipe here. I also have some matches. And I do have a lid that we're going to pull out. That'll fit this pan here so we can be prepared when we do the flambe. Now we need to cook the milk solids in the butter until they start to go bronze. And you know by smell when that happens. Okay. Almost there. We're going to add in here onions. This is about half of a medium onion. And then our 2 leeks, the bottom parts. Our leek greens and our potatoes are fully cooked here. Now we're going to slide our onions in here. First. We'll slide our leeks in as well. The leeks have to be very well washed, so once they're cut up, they need to be very well washed. Squirt them out. Now I'm going to take some gray sea salt and season it well. Okay. Now I'm actually going to take my lid here. We're going to turn the lid on this for a little bit, just to start to tenderize our leeks and our onions. I also have here some milk, and this is some of our corned beef stock. Continue with this. Check it out. Take the lid off for a second and give it a stir. Okay. These leeks need to become somewhat tender before we proceed. just going to continue this process. Pull out a platter here that we're going to use for serving and to keep it warm in the oven. Okay. Now, it's important now that we're going to leave it uncovered now that they're cooking. And we need to cook all the liquid out of our leeks and our onions. We're also at this point going to season with black pepper. Put them out here. That's it. Just let them soften. Don't need to turn. The heat's on high. Just want to make sure that we're on high heat here. Just continue to let them sweat. I have grabbed the potato masher because we are going to mash our potatoes. I'm actually going to mash them before they go into this pan here. So that's just a bit easier. Okay. These finish off, we'll take our masher here. I'm just going to go at it. And these potatoes are hot, by the way. So just continue to mash them. Excuse me. Just continue to mash. They're not going to be creamy. We're going to leave texture. Just want it. That's about good here. Okay. That should be fine. Okay. We don't need the masher anymore. Now if we look at this, all the water is now gone. So. Smells wonderful. I'm going to cook a little longer with more liquid, but now we have to put our whiskey in here. Now we're going to be careful here. We get our click lighter here, make sure it works. It's important that the click lighter works for this. And next we're going to pour in our whiskey. In one hand we're going to grab our lid and we're just going to let it flambe. As you can see here, the whiskey needs to flame out. But I do have a lid in case we have any disasters in the time. Cool. I'm not going to actually need to use the lid at this point. Now we're going to get all the flavor of the whiskey, but without any of the harsh alcohol. Now we're going to add in here some of our corned beef cooking liquid. I'm going to throw a lid back on here. We're going to bring it back to a boil. We're going to cook it covered for 5 minutes. What this is going to do is going to tenderize our everything. And then we're going to add in these potatoes. And we're going to add in some milk and some more liquid. I'll continue here. Not going to need our stick lighter anymore. You could also use matches for lighting the liquor and doing the flambe, but the stick lighter works fine. If I was doing that on my normal stove, I would pull this pan out into the middle of the kitchen and hold it while it flamed. I wouldn't flame it on the burner. Just need to be careful. If you got a good hood that's high enough, you could do the flaming underneath your hood. So I'm gonna cover it now that it's boiling. I've got a timer set. It's cooked, got 4 more minutes left here. Just make sure everything is tender. The leek greens are tender because they cooked with the potatoes, but we need to make the rest of the greens, the rest of the leeks and the onions tender. At this point is when you would put in cabbage. If you were putting cabbage in this, it would go in at this point, but I didn't have any cabbage, so we're making do. Still going to be delicious. That's why I used all the greens of the leeks. So, very easy to do. Okay. Continue to cook this here. Beautiful. Smells delicious. We're on high heat, so most of the liquid is going to cook away, which is fine. It's concentrating the taste. Once we get the potatoes in here, we will lower our heat because we don't want to burn our potatoes. Potatoes were cooked in salted water. Potatoes and the leek greens were cooked in salted water, so it's going to be. They're going to add some seasoning, but we will check the seasoning before we take it out of the saute pan here. Okay. About 1 minute left. I've got about 1 minute left on the timer, but I can actually tell that these are cooked, so we're going to stop our timer here. We'll slide in our potatoes. Put them all in here. It's a delicious side dish for corned beef. If you like to have cabbage as well, you could do this and boil some cabbages as well. Sometimes nice to do both. We'll get rid of our bowl here. And we'll just turn the heat down, actually. Now we're going to adjust down our heat to about medium and start to work everything together. You get everything combined before we add any more liquid in here. Okay. Everything needs to be combined. Okay. That's pretty good. Now we're going to put a little more corned beef liquid in here. I'm also going to put some milk. Let's put about maybe a half cup of milk in here. And now that everything's combined, I'm going to bring everything back to a boil. And we're just going to cook this until we drive off some of the, we're going to drive off some of the liquid. And we're also at this point going to check for seasoning. What we need to do now is just drive off some of the liquid. Salt. Needs a fair amount of salt actually. More pepper. Give it another taste here to see. Just a dash more salt. I'm actually going to put the last of our corned beef cooking liquid. I still have lots more in the pot, but just going to put a little more in here just for its taste. And now that's enough on the liquid, because it is a bit loose right now, but as it cooks, it's going to tighten. So, just continue to stir often as this tightens. You can have it as chunky or as smooth as you like. If you want it much more chunky, you can leave it chunkier when you mash your potatoes. Do it to the consistency you like. You can also do a mix of red and yellow creamer potatoes. Red Bliss potatoes, and use the yellow creamers or the white rose potatoes. Okay. The last of our butter here. Okay. Actually shutting it off now. I'm going to let it sit on the burner, no heat, for a few more minutes. I'm going to grab some little bit of fresh parsley. We have here, we don't need much. A little bit of parsley fresh. We're going to use a little parsley and a little bit of scallions. Got the scallions ultra thin. We're just going to use some scallion greens. Okay. That's our scallions. You got about maybe a heaped tablespoon of scallions for this. And make sure to put it in at the end. then we have parsley. We're going to do about 2 tablespoons of minced parsley here. Doesn't need to be super finely chopped. Just not coarse. We'll add our parsley in here. Good. And one other ingredient that I'm going to put in here. I don't have access to fresh chives right now, so we're going to put in a tablespoon of freeze-dried chives. The heat alone, these are freeze-dried chives. This freeze-dried chives and the freeze-dried dill are the best freeze-dried herbs out there. And it's not specifically dry chives. They are freeze-dried, so they have a much better flavor. And we're just going to stir everything in now that the heat is off. Okay. I'm going to pull away the burner here. Just set it down away for the moment. Grab a trivet here, as you can see here. And now we're going to just load it into our oval enameled cast iron dish, which will keep it nice and fresh and hot in the oven. This is delicious stuff. If you have access to fresh chives, go ahead and put a couple tablespoons of fresh chives in. But I didn't have any access to fresh chives, so I went for the freeze-dried ones, which you can usually find them in the produce section of the supermarket. Okay. Leaving out the top here. Perfecto. Set this down out of the way. Now we got the last of our butter here. And just drizzle. Including all the milk solids right on top. And there it is. Beautiful Colcannon. Later we will show you how to make the famous horseradish sauce to go with our corned beef. And I'll show you the sliced corned beef with the sauce and the beautiful Colcannon. So we'll come back in a little while and show you the finished plate. And before that, I'll show you how to make the sauce. Welcome back to Joe's Kitchen. Now we're going to make the famous horseradish sauce. And we got simple ingredients. This is as easy as falling off of a log. Now we are going to start with sour cream here. And this is Hampshire sour cream. This is the good stuff. Now I'm going to put this whole tub in here of sour cream. Get it all in here. If you like another brand of sour cream, that's fine. But I like this Hampshire stuff for this recipe. It's rich. And this sour cream only has cream, and that's it. So that's that. We're also going to put in here a spoonful of mayonnaise, maybe about half of a cup of mayo. That's fine. Wrap that up now. And I'm going to mix those two things together, get it combined. Horseradish, prepared horseradish. We can adjust it, but we need a good amount here. I'm going to probably put most of this. I'm going to put this whole jar in here. I'm going to put this entire jar of prepared horseradish in here. But if you want to adjust it down, you can. Totally put less horseradish. I put the entire jar in here. I'm also going to put in here a spoonful of Colcannon's prepared mustard. You want about a tablespoon of prepared mustard here. This is the Colcannon's mustard, so this is the strong stuff. Also going to put a couple dashes of Leon Perrin sauce, a couple dashes of Tabasco sauce. If you don't like Tabasco sauce or don't want to use it, that's fine. Black pepper, just a little bit. Just a dash of salt. You don't need much because we're putting a lot of ingredients that contain salt. Also going to put a squeeze of lemon juice in here. You don't need much, maybe a teaspoon worth of lemon juice. And last but not least, again, a tablespoon of dried chives or fresh chives. You could use a couple tablespoons of fresh chives. Give it a stir. It will be a little yellow because of the mustard. Now I'm going to get a tasting spoon here and give it a taste. Good. It's tasty stuff. Put some in the serving vessel here. Oop. Let's try and keep it all nice. We got a wipe. Okay. This sauce should sit at least an hour before you use it. It's delicious. That's plenty into the serving vessel. And there's your delicious horseradish sauce. When we come back, I'm going to show you the sliced corned beef. We'll actually slice into it. Welcome back to Injo's Kitchen. We have our beautiful corned beef here. And we're going to pull one of these out here. And I'm using a meat fork here to cut it, because we have to cut it against the grain, and the grain, as you see, is running this way. So we're going to cut against the grain at a slight diagonal here. If there was a big fat cap, it can be removed, but the fat cap isn't very big, so we're just going to cut it, slices of it. Now what I have done here is it's been sitting in some of the liquid. Now we'll fan out our corned beef here on the plate. rest of it in here. Leave the knife because we might have seconds. Pull the cutting board away. For now, I'm going to pull out our delicious Colcannon. Let me put it on a trivet here. We'll serve some up like so. And last but not least, I like it in a little dish on the side. And there's your beautiful corned beef and Colcannon for St. Patrick's Day. Sláinte. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's wonderful stuff. Peace out, keep it real, and stay safe.